Fired Today Show host Matt Lauer breaking his silence, apologizing in a statement this morning after several women accuse him of sexual misconduct. Joining us now to talk about all of this are Erika Smith, attorney to Gretchen Carlson when she took on Roger Ailes, Michaela Angela Davis, a cultural writer and critic, and Erika Martin, CNN legal analyst and civil rights attorney. Great to see all of you. The floodgates continue to pour open. I mean, we've been here before. It feels like we will continue to be here to have this conversation. So, Erika, let me start with you. There were rumors, there were sometimes whispers about Matt Lauer, about extramarital philandering. This is in a different stratosphere. But you say that the rumors should have been a red flag. What does that mean?
Well, I think we've been so focused on the courageous women that have come forward to tell their stories, and we don't ever want to lose sight of the victims. But we also have to stay focused on employers. In the workplace, employers have an affirmative obligation to investigate sexual harassment, and it doesn't have to just be those claims that come forward from victims. So if an employer has knowledge or has reasonable suspicion that sexual harassment or some kind of sexual abuse is happening in the workplace, they have to do something.
If they have, let me bring it, Nancy, you're a lawyer too. If an employer has a rumor that there's an extramarital affair happening, are they supposed to do something?
No, but clearly the institutions are not working here. Clearly, these were more rumors than extramarital affairs. Some women, in fact, last night, Ashley Banfield said that she complained about sexual harassment when she was at NBC, not by Matt Lauer, but she complained, and the executive threw her out of the office. That's an institution that is not taking sexual harassment seriously. It's a place where women don't feel safe coming forward. So I think Erika is absolutely right. Employers, the institutions in our country, they all have to change now.
Michaela, what did you think when you heard about Matt Lauer yesterday?
It blew my mind. We weren't surprised. But this was the highest you could get, I think. I mean, the morning television has changed. Morning news has changed. But, you know, unless HR departments, the culture of them, and the boards that have more women on them, this change has to begin more than just people losing their jobs. You have to keep going, because if the culture doesn't change, then things won't change.
Erika, I want to ask you a legal question, and this next part is graphic. So I just want to warn everybody who may have kids in the room, this next part is graphic because I want to detail what one of the women said that Matt Lauer did to her. So in 2001, one of his subordinates, a junior person to him, was called into his office to, she thought, go over a story, how they were going to produce a story. That's what she was told. She sat down on the sofa. He asked her to unbutton her blouse. She did so. He then remotely shut the door, which he could do from a button on his desk. He then pulled down her pants and had sex with her. Presumably, this was so traumatic for her during it, she passed out, and his assistant had to take her to the NBC nurse. What happens legally? What realm are we in legally with these details as you hear them?
Yeah, we are way beyond an employer being able to say that they had no knowledge. So let's start with that assistant. She's called into an office and a woman is passed out on the floor. Right. She takes that woman to the nurse. Red flag, big red flag. What happens after that? Who's talked to? Who's interviewed? What statement does this woman who just had intercourse, forced intercourse presumably, or at least non-consensual, that she passes out, and the assistant now is involved. So now we not just have the victim, but we have a witness, at least a witness to what happened after this intercourse. So I'm really puzzled by the statement that was issued by NBC that the current management had no knowledge. That's a loaded phrase for a lawyer, and I know Nancy would agree with me. We want to talk about, what do you mean by current management?
I couldn't agree more. And this is another trick that has happened in HR departments and in all of our institutions. It's this putting in categories that don't really have any responsibility up to the board, like you're saying. Every board should have a committee that monitors HR from now and forever.
But hold on one second, because I believe that in the New York Times reporting, she says she didn't tell me. She was, the woman, the accuser, was humiliated, traumatized. She did not tell management. So how can they know what happened?
The nurse knew. The assistant knew.
The nurse didn't know that there had been sex. The nurse knew something strange. She passed out, blood sugar. I mean, the nurse doesn't know the details.
Definitely, assuming that she was dressed again by Matt Lauer before he called somebody that he had a unconscious woman on the floor of his office.
Wait a minute. Can we just
Yeah, go ahead.
hold that for a second? That there's an unconscious woman on the floor that could have been raped.
Yeah.
This is criminal. This is insane. That this, like, is there an inability to have power and proximity to women in these spaces? And you use the right word, trauma. So these women are traumatized. Their self-worth, their ability to move. They have to go into a hostile or war zone every day. Like that's what we're looking at.
Imagine
They don't feel safe.
Every day.
They don't feel safe coming forward. That's why they don't women don't want to tolerate this behavior and live with it. The institution did not make her feel safe.
Go ahead, Erika.
And Allison, I think it's important to note, even though that victim at that moment may not have made a formal statement to HR or to management, somebody in that organization knew that something was going on with Matt Lauer. We see that in the Variety article. So it would be naive of any of us to sit here and to suggest that no one in executive management or leadership had any any knowledge about these incidents. Let's talk about the reality here. $25 million salary and a $500 million cash cow that show is for the network. That's what's driving the decisions not to investigate and not to take action sooner until this blew up on them.
Someone installed the button to lock the door.
Right.
Like,
we now know that it was apparently customary for executives to have a remote switch that shut their door. They had big offices, and they shut their door when a conversation became private. So it wasn't just Matt Lauer, okay? But still, what you're saying is that it's important for this is a teachable moment for every single person, women included, which is that obviously you have to say something, and you are entitled to scream. If something is happening in a locked office or you now, today, you can scream, you can yell for help, you can do whatever it takes. I mean, we're just learning how bad these things were that women kept secret.
Right.
Ladies, thank you very much for the conversation. Always great to talk to all of you. We will speak again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CNN Newsroom with John Berman picks up after this very quick break.